his body as he lit a cigarette and took a long drag. "Sure," he said, grinning as he flashed the even white teeth that had won over more than one female voter. "But why waste an opportunity? We've been looking for a spot for 3 years. I was walking by this place yesterday. It's less than a mile down the road from here, and it hit me how perfect it would be. I could see it all. A comfortable lodge, miles of cross-country ski trails. If you're interested in making the investment, I'll check into it. What do you think, pal?" By the time he hung up, Wade was ready to take another long walk down the dirt road that wound back through the trees. He'd been in Vermont trying to relax for 3 days, and he still was strung tighter than a new tennis racket. His nerves hadn't even begun to unwind. He couldn't quite remember what it was like not to be tense. A few uninterrupted weeks of peace and quiet were supposedly a reward for having worked countless 16, 18, even a few 24-hour days to push his clean water bill through the House before Congress had adjourned for the summer. He found his position as one of Indiana's representatives fulfilling in many ways, but it took its toll on him emotionally and physically. Lord, he thought. His drive and ambition had warped his thinking to the point that he looked sideways at the offer of a vacation. But then he realized he never had been one for lying around. He was a doer. Relaxation made him nervous. He was haunted by the idea that while he was busy relaxing, other people were getting things done. However, when Dr. Jameson, his physician and good friend, had handed him the key to his vacation house in Vermont and told him to go or else, Wade had accepted. Even though he had felt compelled to get back to his district and in touch with his constituents, common sense and his doctor had prevailed. He wasn't going to be any good to anybody lying in a hospital with a bleeding ulcer. His shoes kicked up little puffs of dust as he walked down the road with a purposeful stride that should not have belonged to someone on a vacation. In the west, the summer sky was ablaze as the sun reluctantly slid down on the other side of the Green Mountains. Behind Wade, Tucker, the Labrador, dragged himself along, his body language clearly saying he had been perfectly content lounging on the plush carpet by the fireplace, chewing on a rawhide toy. They turned in at the break in the trees that led back to the old house they had explored the day before. Wade's gaze fastened on the dilapidated old Victorian house that had once been painted pink. At one time it must have been a grand home with its turret and fancy gingerbread trim, he thought, but its day had come and gone long ago, and he easily could picture a cedar and stone ski lodge in its place. It wouldn't be a huge resort. They would keep the number of skiers down so the trails wouldn't be crowded. It would be a great investment and a great place to get away to when the pressures of government started turning his stomach into a blast furnace. Relaxation wasn't so bad if he could ski and make money while he was at it. "And take that, Ross Hilliard, you incomparable louse!" Wade stopped in his tracks at the sound of a woman's voice, followed by a loud pounding noise. Tucker sat down and leaned heavily against his master's legs, trying to muster a growl. It came out sounding more like indigestion. The woman rounded the corner of the wraparound porch, her brilliant white wedding gown hiked up to her knees, wads of material bunched into her right hand. Wedding gown? He wondered briefly as he watched her. In her left hand she carried a hammer, which she let fly at a large brown suitcase on the top of the porch steps. Never taking his eyes off her, Wade moved into the trees along the drive and tried to work his way closer without calling attention to himself. Bronwynn charged up to the luggage with the old hammer she'd found. She gave the lock on her erstwhile fiancé's suitcase a vicious whack, and then another, all the while calling him every name she could think of. Anger had spurred her on all day since her announcement at the wedding, and it was showing no signs of running out. After she had found Ross out, she had wandered around like a zombie in shock, not able to think of what she should do. Finally, she had snapped out of the trance. Now she made no effort to calm herself. She deserved to be furious. She deserved to go berserk. She gave the suitcase another smack, springing the lock. Staring at the contents, she realized there was something else she hadn't known about Ross. He didn't know how to pack a suitcase. All his expensive, tailored clothes had been mushed into a wrinkled mess, and in among his underwear he had packed a bottle of cod liver oil.